Centuries, Ages of Ashes. Yes, again. I've talked about it before, but since new content came out and it's been a while, let's go give it another look. See if they improved some things that I pointed out in my last video or in the comment under the last video. See if they added a report system or not, etc. For the start, let's talk classes. I'll talk about all classes, not just the two that were added after my previous video. So let's start with Marauder, your typical warrior or knight class. They're simple to play. My favorite power are the frostbolts, which are basically another 3 fireballs that you can spam. Then there's Gust, which pushes enemies away, and Scorching Breath, which just improves damage on your fire breath, which isn't that notable in my opinion. Their passive ability recharges power and ability, so frostbolts etc., with every single kill you make. They mark a target to hunt them down. Then we have Windguard, your support class. We have Smoke Trail for leaving poison in the air for DOT, which I actually added the DOT for, which is absolutely fucking dangerous. Then Gust again, and lastly Cursing Orb, so healing others. I don't really have a preference ability-wise for this class, so pick your own. Not that I want you to follow my advice anyways, because you have to pick what you're comfortable with. Passive, they are less affected by shockwaves, and negative effects are shorter. They protect others with an additional shield. Then, my personal favorite class, the one I play the most, Phantom. The sneaky fast class that is basically your assassin or rogue. Mines to lay, Gust again, and Lethal Spike. In my opinion, mines are the best, because Lethal Spike is just a way worse fireball with a lot of higher damage. Passive ability is Shield Breaker, which makes killing others way easier because their shield takes more damage. They can turn invisible to hide from attacks, even though it got heavily nerfed, and you can be locked on way too easily by now, basically making this ability kind of redundant. They sadly nerfed their speed too to be so low that now escaping anything when you're invisible basically requires your boost, which isn't that great. And then we have the 3 classes that you have to pay cash or, well, the in-game currency, gems for. Stormracer, the heavy-hitting barbarian brute. Blinding Wave, Frostbolts, and Muzzling Chain. They don't hit as hard now and are not as overpowered as they were before. So they are slow but strong. Passive skills is that they destroy a projectile that comes in towards you from time to time, which actually is kinda great. They can throw their axe and block enemy stamina, and lightning hits every nearby enemy to the one you hit. Next up is Thornweaver, the druid of the classes. Medium speed, health, etc. To me it just feels like a slower Windguard, yet also like their own separate class, and I can't really pinpoint why. They have Bramble Wall to summon a Thorn Wall, and Smoke Trail. Passive wise, they launch numbing fireballs at enemies when hit. They can raise their defenses and shoot poisonous barbs at enemies. And as of the last class added, as of the release of this video, Rimeblood. Fast, brutish. Feral Charge and Winter's Judgment. I don't like either sadly, but you can get very good with them. Like all classes. They can use a stamina point to breathe fire even if the meter is depleted passively. They hurl an icicle trail, boosting allied damage and worsening the steer of the enemy for a few seconds, which is actually really annoying. The rounds are 4v4 now instead of the previous 6v6, which, while still an improvement, sometimes result in a spot missing somehow and thus getting curb stomped by the enemy team. How? Just don't let the round start or the party form until 8 players are present. I don't know how hard that is to program, but still, that's something you have to think about when you make such a game. There are multiple game modes. Carnage is the typical TDM. Unlimited lives, 5 to 10 second respawn, simple. And then there's Spoils of War, where you collect gold and hoard it back at spawn. There are more gimmicks like the carriers carry more gold, or keys to unlock a treasury for a time while locking out the other, or a bomb to blow the other's pile to smithereens and steal their gold. For unranked at least. These are the 2 game modes. And that I play and find fun as fuck, to be honest. Gates of Hell is basically a CTF, and I personally hate it with the game's movements. It's way too chaotic, and if you're not in team with others you can actively talk to in a voice call, it feels like you'll always lose, but definitely not boring. Yet not for me, because I don't know what's up, but the party system, it somehow doesn't work. Like I can say, hey, this person I want to be in my party. And I start a round, they are in my party, nothing fucking happens. The report system is still non-existent, which is heavily annoying when it is obvious if people hack. Another thing is that either my matchmaking sucks because I often lose, or that the game is way easier to control on PC, since when you're up against 4 PC players as 4 PlayStation players, for example, you also tend to get curb stomped unless you play like a fucking god by sheer luck, which I didn't manage to record sadly because that happened to me once. Plus, it sometimes throws you in the middle of a game where not all player slots are full, which, while good because the team gets their 4th and final player or a 3rd player, you will still not manage to turn the tide because you often lose by such a big margin that's basically fucking impossible. So it still counts as a loss for you if they would fix or implement these things, right? Like implement the report system where you, because you always watch another person after you die, or well, the person that killed you, and if you see, hey, I think they're hacking, you can report them. If they would implement that, or say, hey, if someone leaves during the game or the round doesn't manage to fill up fully, it just doesn't count to your total score, which I kinda care about. I mean, the classes are fine, I don't get why they're adding more, because none are needed anymore. I mean, now it's annoying because there's like, hey, we have these slots, like 3 remaining slots down there, and we're not gonna fill them, which would be annoying to look at. So I hope 3 more classes come out to balance that, but I thought, hey, after Ramwood was out, hey, perfect, you won't add any other classes, so now you will focus on making the game actually enjoyable to play. Well, no, they're gonna add Rime Blood. Jesus. And because no round ever fills up without crossplay enabled, since not a lot of people seem to play it on console, it is even more annoying that you cannot compete with PC players. And I think it's because it looks for other players that have crossplay disabled on the same console, which does make sense, but it's still a great flaw of the system. If you made it to the end of the video here, I think you should subscribe. Can't have been that awful, right? Though maybe check out my other reviews too. We kinda do that a lot here. And with that, sayonara and ciao, kuro.